A new day, a new update, and 2 new battle groups in Steel Division 2. Today we'll be looking at the 29th Armored for the Soviet Union, and later on we'll be looking at the 20th Panzer for Germany. So let's dive into it. Yes, that is a lot of IS-2s. Isn't that great? In the Recon tab, a new unit that we have is the Valentine 3 Armored Recon, a nice tank to use in Phase A or B. Really fun to use these kind of vehicles actually, since they don't push the front line, and you can really surprise the enemy by quickly getting a tank in their flank and harassing their resupply lines. It has a 40mm gun, really good accuracy, not the best penetration, so definitely don't take it out in the open or fight a tank head on. Definitely wouldn't recommend it, and that kind of looks like an angry face right over there. But yeah, fun unit to use. Another new one that we have is the Su-57 tank destroyer / recon unit. Glass cannon basically, a 57mm with some really good stats actually, so it might be useful to actually move this up on the front line and use it as both an AT gun and a recon. So yeah, pretty interesting. As for infantry, a similar loadout to our other Soviet battle groups. So we have the Razvedkas, and since it is armored we have a lot of vehicles that we can choose out of. We have the WLADP and we have the Dozer over here. And what I've gone for is some Razvedkas in Phase A in the M3A1 Razvedka, medium veterancy. And I went for these instead of these larger Razvedka teams because they are just a little bit more stealthy. And in Phase A it is more about spotting the enemy units and seeing where they are with your recon instead of just actually engaging them with your recon. So I do need to kind of work on my recon micromanagement. But in Phase B we have these Razvedkas with the M1 bazooka in just regular M2 since we didn't get anything that actually has gun on it. And in Phase A I also have the Valentine 3 to just play around with and see how it does. But yeah, you can also put it in Phase B in which you get 4 of them, but having these stats in Phase B is really not going to do you too much good. In the infantry tab, it is very similar to all of the Soviet units so far. We do have the Strelki here, which are interesting to use. Rifle squads, good line infantry, decent for pushing I would say, but not really good at CQC. And for the rest, it is pretty much the same. So let's just go over what kind of units we have put in Phase A and why. Since this is an armored battle group, I've removed most of my really close quarter combat infantry in later phases. But in Phase A, I want to be as balanced as possible. So I've put in some Avtomachikis, medium veterancy and M2A1s with the machine gun on top, so you won't lose those transports. Really good infantry and close quarter combat, and to help them out I have put in these Strelki units that is more medium / long range engagements, and they also do have some heat shells. So if you combine these two you basically have a really good mid-range, well, you basically have everything in the spectrum. You have really good short range and really good mid and long range, and they both have heat grenades. Well, I call them heat grenades. I don't know. I just call them high explosive anti-tank grenades. Let's just call it that. And also have some leader units, some Avto Komroti in Phase A as well. You can't go for any lower veterancy since they are leaders. You can do so with these guys, which will enable you to have 2 or 4 of them. But since these guys carry some smoke, which I always find very important, and they have 3 PPSHs instead of mostly rifles in that Strelki unit, I went for these guys instead. And just micromanage your leaders and you should be okay. So in Phase B we have some Saparis, all around good infantry in my opinion, assault engineers as the name suggests. They have more than usual close quarter combat weapons, more than usual and related to riflemen. They have some SVT-70s, some LMGs, and the TNT shells, or frag HE shells as the game calls them there. So really good infantry to use in cities. Not the best to use at really close quarters, but that's where the Avtomachikis come in. And in Phase B I also have some Strelki DPs. Not the best at close quarters, really horrible at close quarters I would say. They have some SVTs, some LMGs, so really good at longer range attacks or fights, engagements. And they have the PTRD anti-tank, which surprisingly has done really well in my gameplays. So I just put these in there real quick as well. And to top it off in Phase B we do have some Sapari Komrotis. These are leaders with Panzerfausts, and just a regular loadout that you would expect, and you get 6 of these, which is quite a lot of leaders actually, in my opinion. But yeah, I've not filled it up since I try to use all of those 5 points somewhere else. That is a lot of points to invest in infantry when you're playing as an armored battle group. So I spent those points on tanks, anti-tank, and air power. Speaking of tanks, I've basically almost filled it up. In phase A we have some Grnvld, the T-3485 leader tank, 85 points, pretty decent. We also have some T-3485 regular tanks, the non-leader variants. And that is all I have in phase A. I want to play defensive in phase A so I can call out all of this armor in phase B and C. Speaking of all of this armor, let's look at some of the newer units that we have here. So the IS-2 OBR 1943. This is an absolute beast. 122mm main gun, which is just going to shred everything. So let's check it out. Pretty bad accuracy, 30%. I guess it is decent as long as you have a leader and a commander connected to this tank. 200mm penetration, which is just insane in general. It'll take out anything. 9 damage on that gun. And the HE gun is not bad at all either, with some good suppression and blast and damage values there. It also has a Dishka, 50 cal, and also has a machine gun. Pretty insane tank. And I've put 2 of these, well, 4 of these in total in phase B, and I also have 2 of them in the commander mode, which brings a total to 6. So yeah, some German tanks are going to have some trouble with this guy. Just imagine rolling up with 6 of these with these stats. That is going to be amazing. And what I also have in phase B is just some mid-range tanks, the T-3485 1944 variant. Pretty good tank in general. If we compare that to the IS-2 here, so yeah, the gun is a little bit less like powerful, but it is more accurate, as you can see. 55% compared to 30%. And still 180 mils penetration is still really good. The armor of the IS-2 is obviously very, very good. So if you do use these in a combination, I would keep the T-34s either in front if you want to use them as a meat shield, or in the back if you want to just utilize that gun and not quickly lose these guys. In phase C, I once again went for another card of T-3485 1944s, 10 of these on medium veterancy, and I have 8 IS-2s. It's gonna hurt. Someone is gonna be very angry. And a newer unit that we have is the Valentine Grnvld here once again. Instead of a recon unit, we have it as a tank leader. And basically the rest here is the same. In the support tab, no new units. I've put in some Maxim machine guns in phase A. I always like to have some fire support for my infantry. I have some supplies in phase B, and I have a commander in phase B. I haven't put any commanders in phase A since I needed both these points, and since I used most of my units in phase B anyways, or in phase C even. But yeah, just be careful with your commander, and I just find the infantry commanders to be a little bit, I don't know, you could say fragile, although sometimes vehicles are easier to spot. But yeah, just keep these guys way back behind, well, in your territory. What we also have that I recommend you guys trying out is these infantry guns. Really good at suppressing infantry or vehicles at medium range. At long range they also do some pretty good damage to like even the most heavily armored vehicles. And if you have a few of these, they will actually stun enemy tanks pretty quickly. And I mean, it's on the highest veteran, so you get 9 of them. Don't know if that's supposed to be, but yeah. In the anti-tank, this looks like a Panzerfaust, but it's just a PTRS or PTRS team, a 14.5mm anti-tank rifle with 35mm penetration, 20-point unit. Might be worth just sprinkling out there. We have a newest addition to this battle group, which is, or this game, which is the M10 Tank Destroyer, the M10 Wolverine, which is a really fun tank. Small tank, pretty good gun as well, 65% accuracy and 130 mils penetration. And I've put these guys in phase A to utilize it as much as possible before its really weak armor, you know, takes a toll here. What I also have put into this deck is the 45mm anti-tank gun, the 53K. Pretty decent, not the best, but you get a lot of them. We got 3 of these on medium veterancy, so I just went for it. And in phase A, I also went for a slightly better AT gun, the ZIS-2, a 57mm, really good values, really good penetration, and decent accuracy there as well compared to the 40 mil on the 53k. But yeah, nothing compared to the M10 Tank Destroyer's accuracy, which is going to be a ton of fun to use. And in Phase B, I just have some more of these Zis 257s. If you're more of the Tank Destroyer type of person, you could put in the Su-85s, but honestly, I think we're good on the tanks. So in the anti-tank section, not a lot of stuff. I've basically just only put in some 37 mils in Phase B because I have a lot of fighters in both Phase A and both Phase B and C, I believe. So yeah, I didn't really invest too much in the anti-air tab. In the artillery, kind of bleak as well. I have some of these mobile mortar units. Pretty good to use, especially since they're mobile. You can just quickly get out of harm's way before you get countered. 80 mils, 17 rounds per minute, 3k range, all around good unit to use. You get 3 of them in Phase A. If you don't like those numbers, you could also go for some of these guys, the 82 mils that are just carried around by infantry, but they're really slow, and I've had them countered quite a few times. So I'm gonna try out these guys, and I've actually tried these out in the past, and they are wonderful. And also, obviously, in Phase C, when we do that big tank rush, we have some Katyushas to quickly stun and or just wreck the enemy front line in general. What we also have is some 76 mil off-map. Not the heaviest off-map, but maybe useful to use. And we also have the generic, well, the old school 76 mil howitzers, and we also have the 120 mil mortars and also artillery observers or leaders. Now, this is actually just a leader. If you are spending like that much, like 4 points on a leader, what you could actually do is just get those leaders in the artillery tab for 2 points instead. But in this case, it is actually a 10-man team with lots of Mosems and PPSHs, so it might be worth going for those, but since these guys also have a Panzerfaust, I just went for these instead. So yeah, always keep an eye out on which units you can actually select in both the artillery and the support, because sometimes there's some really really nice kind of like cheats that you can do. So in the air tab, we have some really nice new units. We have the Boston A20C, which carries 3 500 kilogram bombs and also has a 50 cal turret, and we have 6 of these in total in this battle group. We also have the Boston A20C with a 1-ton bomb and the Boston A20C with 16 50 kilogram bombs. Actually, it has 4 more over there. So 20 50 kilogram bombs. Isn't that cool? Basically a ton in total, but yeah. Good, like that is the main difference really between these kind of payloads. The 20 kilogram or 20 times 50k would be really good at stunning a wide range of territory, but the 3 500 kilograms can actually kill tanks. Well, they are known to kill tanks pretty easily. So yeah, definitely keep that in mind. What I have in this battle group is a nice little PO2 recon plane, nice and slow, usually makes the enemy just ignore these in general. We also have some fighters in Phase A since our AA is lacking. We have some P39Q-15s, really good planes with a 37 mil and 50 cals on the nose, and we also have some 50 cals on the wings, so really heavy payload and pretty quick as well, 580 kilometers per hour. And speaking of fighters, we also have the LA7, 645 kilometers per hour on these planes. Only 2 20 mil autocannons, but man, these are some interceptors. A newer unit is the Boston A20G, definitely my favorite plane to use in War Thunder back in the days, with 4 20 mils on the nose, with 250, actually, yeah, 2 50s on the nose, and we also have 4 50 cals on the ventral side of this plane, and we also have turrets, 50 cal turrets, so pretty good plane in general. It is a ground attack, but I bet you could even take down some enemy planes with this, although I wouldn't really bother with that agility there. Yeah, a ton of fun. And last but not least, we have the P39N-O with 82 mil frag rockets that you could go for as well, and also has a 37 mil nose autocannon. So yeah, just check out which kind of units you want to use compared to my units, I guess. I will leave a code for this deck, or for this battle group, down in the description. The tank tab is definitely going to be used heavily by me, and so is the air tab. If I bring out all of these bombers, that's going to be really nasty. But yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed. Check out the code in the description, and I'll see you guys on the battlefield.